Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Coleman. Joining me right now are the guys from View from the Hammersmith, and this episode is about the first match of the season against Manchester United, a 1-1 draw. A lot happened in this match. We'll be going through it probably in the next hour, and we also have a visitor joining us, Kamal's brother Suhail, all the way from Canada. So we have a full house. This should be a lot of fun. Guys, let's not waste any time. Just want to go to each one of you and just welcome you back to the show. Mr. Wall, how are we doing?
Very good, Russ. Good to see you. Great to be back.
Okay. Excellent to have you back. Alex, we'll talk about Smith Rowe coming up. How you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you, Russ. Good to be back too.
Kamal, how you doing?
I'm good. I noticed that we could have had two. Matt brought his kids along, and I suggested that they might substitute Alex for one episode because they said some very sensible things.
Okay. My favorite Canadian. Well, along with Giannis, I can't just say my favorite Canadian. One of my favorite Canadians. So, Hale, how you doing?
Great, yeah. Honored to be on here. Great to be with. It's an amazing group that you got here. I always say about Kamal, my younger brother, that I'm half as cool but twice as smart. So it makes up for it.
Half as cool feels like it takes some work.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, just so you know, we are live here on X, live on YouTube, and live on the Cottage Talk Facebook page. But if you want to listen to the full episode as a podcast, this is exclusive on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. So please do check out the Patreon page. And I am offering something special still, 2 free months to try it out. It's on top of my X account. If you want to click on that link and take this gift, 2 free months. I'm still offering it. Please take me up on that. Okay. Guys, let's get to it. Mr. Wall, I'll go to you first. Before we get to talk about your thoughts and everyone's thoughts in detail, just give me your opening thoughts on the match overall.
I was very surprised by the lineup and was a bit dubious as to the wisdom of going for a 5 at the back in the first 10 minutes when we were completely overwhelmed. And if you'd offered me a draw 15, 20 minutes in, I would have snapped your hand off. Marco, being the brilliant manager that he is, adapted the team. And by the end, I left satisfied with the draw. I'm satisfied, but thinking actually we could have won that. We had chances.
Absolutely.
Look, really good first showing. These first couple of games, there are teams that you see panicking. If I were a West Ham fan, I would be panicking. I'd be a bit nervous if I was a Crystal Palace fan. Their squad looks threadbare and they got Europe every week from now on. There are a lot of teams there that I think are going to struggle, and I think we've made a good showing so far.
Let me ask you before I go to the other guys, I want to talk to you about that. Do you think it was a mistake to go with that formation, to go with that lineup? I talked to Max about it. We were going back and forth on it because, as you said, they grew into the game. But those opening stages were a little scary, Matt.
Yeah, I think Marco just wanted to make sure that we didn't concede, and the attack that we saw from Man United against Arsenal last week, whilst they didn't score, I thought they looked impressive. And actually, our 3 centre-back approach nullified Mason Mount, who I think was the best of the. He was an important part of the attacking outfit last Sunday for Manchester United. Overall, I thought we looked pretty solid. You know, we had the chances that Cunha had in the first 10 minutes. You know, the sort of ball over the top, and then when he hit the post. But other than that, you know, I don't remember Leno making another great save in the first half. Did he make another? But I can't remember another one in the first half. You know, and they missed the penalty. But when Marco goes 5 at the back, I never see it coming, and I'm always a bit nervous about it. I think it is quite important at the start of the season to rotate and get some of the other players some game time. So getting Castagna a start, getting Sessegnon a start, no bad thing. So I was okay with it.
Okay, excellent. Over to you, Alex. I want to get your opening thoughts, but I actually want to really touch on this because I think it's a very good point to talk about the starting 11, the formation, and how it worked out. And I'm glad that Matt actually brought us there because I was a little surprised. Max and I on the full-time show thought he was being a little bit conservative and actually giving too much respect to Manchester United. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, broadly inclined to agree. I mean, you can't say it worked early on. We were just not at the races for the first 10 minutes. They had way more dynamism than us. They looked more up for it. They just looked like, adults against kids for that first 10 minutes, to be honest. But as you say, we grew into the game. So you can't. I'm kind of on the fence because I did feel we kind of handed them the that kind of opportunity to take the game by the scruff of the neck, really, by playing that more defensive formation. I noticed they played Ahmad instead of Dalot at right wing back as well, which meant they were going for a more attacking formation. So I think that tells us a lot about what both managers' expectations were at the start of the game. Namely, probably Marco would have been up for a point, and Amorim was expecting to come to the Cottage and take all three, which they usually do with a last-minute fluky goal. So as the game went on, I thought we were the better side. After for 70 minutes, so I thought we were much the better side. We could have easily found ourselves 2-0 down. But for 70 minutes we were the better side, and so I think, as usual, while I would have been a bit like, oh, why are we giving Man United this kind of respect, I think you've got to say, well, Silva got it right by the end of the game. His tactics were good. Cesc played very well, I thought, in that left back role. I was a bit worried when I saw him there, and I think Amad Diallo is a really, really good player. So I was worried that he might get the runaround a bit, but I thought he did really well. So overall, Marco got it right, and we were the better side, and we should have had 3 points.
Okay, over to you, Kamal. So I want to get your thoughts on this. And again, I think Matt and Alex brought us to a good place here where we're talking about just our thoughts on the match, but really honing in on the decisions that Marco made and how the team actually reacted to it and adjusted throughout the match. What do you make of thoughts about the starting 11 and just your opening thoughts on the match too?
Well, I know that Matt said he was surprised, but I think they, about the lineup, but other than Muniz, it's more or less the same team. We don't really have many people that can interchange this. I was happy to see the same old faces and that some of the oldies had a bit of rest over the summer. But as we did play with a back five, I think Matt was very quick on when we were at the Cottage to point that out to us. I was just excited. I was just wetting myself just to be there and realize, we're playing very defensively here. But I thought that the funny thing is that the game inverted by the end. I think we were playing the attacking football, and they
That's
were
right.
And on the starting 11, I know. You mentioned Josh King earlier. I thought towards the end, I was very sad to see him go because I thought some of the really incisive play, the cutting play, was from Josh, who was on our side of the heavy end, and I thought Berger did some very good blocks. I like it, but it's the players that we're very used to, and I was very pleased to see how strong our team was, and I found United's formation. I think I said it on Radio 5 Live earlier that you can spend 200 million players, but playing a game of football has got nothing to do with the price tag. And it just looked like our team, after the first 15 minutes when they looked really shell-shocked, they just wanted it. So I had a really good day. It was really enjoyable.
Okay, excellent stuff. Okay, over to your brother. So, Hale, how you doing? And I want to get your thoughts on this. The one thing, and again, not to harp too much on this topic, but I just feel strongly about it, that it's something that actually surprised me when I saw that Fulham were going to go with this formation against this team. I thought they gave him too much respect, Suhail. But in the end, like I said, they actually, maybe by doing this, it also showed the weaknesses of Manchester United, because over the course of the match, they might have had these really top players up front, but in the midfield and especially in back, there were some weaknesses there. So maybe this exposed that over the course of the match. What were your thoughts overall and thoughts on the formation?
Overall, very encouraging. You think about the fact there's 150 million plus strike force. out there. We, apart from the first 5 or 10 minutes in which everyone was revising their predictions, I was hearing Holly going from 2-0 to a Fulham win to 3-0 United, which I thought was quite a reversal. But first 10-15 minutes short, but very encouraging after that. 150 million strike force, and Buemo, Cunha, and I don't think anyone realized this, but Sesko actually came on. Anyone see him do anything? Anyone see him touch the ball, take a shot? It was a very encouraging performance for us. And I think the formation, it's interesting, when Robinson came on, I think we switched back to the back four, and we were starting then at that point to push forward again. So I think everyone's right. I think we played United too much respect, and in fact played into their hands by sitting back a bit too much. I almost certain he's going to take the same formation into the Chelsea match next week. But when we switched to the 4 at the back, we started moving forward a lot more. And I do say, as I say, my overall analysis or assessment was it was very encouraging for a team that has not spent any money playing up against a team that has spent £200 million. We're in good shape, and I know I've spoken to you about this privately, Russ, but I am strongly of the view, and that's what I've heard on the grapevine, we've got money, and we're going to be signing players, and that really puts us in a good position if you think about this game and what we are about to do.
That's interesting that you say that, Suhail, because I was thinking the same thing, because that's what I actually think the performance was important more than the result. I know that sounds strange, but I think the performance, because of what could potentially come next with signings, I think it was important for them to play well, not only get a result, but to actually play well. If, say, a player wants to come to Fulham, I think it would be encouraging against a team like Manchester United. So I think it's twofold. Obviously, the result's important, you to get something out of it, but the performance I thought needed to be there, and it was there. And I think that's important. All right. Back over to you, Matt. I want to go back over to you, and let's just start here. Because I like to get your thoughts. What you guys were talking about before the match. What was the talk amongst yourselves before the match began? Sorry, Matt. I'll take you off mute there.
Thank you. So there are a couple of things there. So one, I thought initially before we started, I thought this was going to be a. So Hale rightly says we went to sort of 4 at the back. I thought it was going to be a 4 at the back with Castagna in at left back, because Mbeumo is a right winger who cuts in onto his left foot. So having an inverted left back to counter that, I thought was, I was like, oh, this is classic Marco. It's perfect. And then obviously we lined up and it was something completely different, and it took a bit of adapting, and we looked, we looked a bit all at sea. The problem with that formation, so we were talking about it before, we're really pleased and excited to see Josh King in the team. It's actually quite nice to play Manchester United and have more youth team products from Fulham starting than Manchester United have, which is it's a rare thing. Theirs is a club where they have a catchment area and a dominance of academy that normally has several first teamers who are products of the Manchester United academy, and we had 2 in Sessegnon and King in our starting 11. I was really pleased about that. Before the game, I felt a little bleak. The mood around the camp is a bit indifferent. Is Muniz staying? Yes, no. I think he probably is. Although weird, I don't think he'd looked that up for it today. Marco is clearly furious and has not been subtle about that feeling. So I predicted, one of your questions often, Russ, and I need to be honest here because I got it wrong, I'm happy to say, but I predicted a 3-1 loss.
Okay.
No, 2-0. I said 2-0 loss, I think, didn't I, Alex? Yeah.
Okay, he's nodding. I'm sorry. I have him on mute. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, very good. Back over to you, Matt, before I go over to Alex. Just want to talk a little bit about, like I said, the talk before. And I'm curious, and then I'm going to actually say to Alex the same thing. When you guys are talking amongst yourselves, when you talk about the lack of signings, is it all about, say, Alistair McIntosh, the Cons not pulling the trigger, or is Marco in the equation? What I mean by that is that the fact that he's not signed a new deal, I think has been a major factor on why Fulham have not signed players. So I'm curious if you guys have been talking about that.
So yes, a bit, and Marco is definitely, I think, part of it. But I mean, look, no one in the ground, I'm afraid, is going to give any flowers or praise to Alistair McIntosh, right? He is clearly a guy who, in anything that he does, he's a bit of a problem. It's either frustrating the manager, allowing contracts to run too long, holding the purse strings too tightly. This being said, I am more sympathetic. My view, for what it's worth, is that Tony Khan is someone who thinks that the best deals to be had are at the end of the transfer window.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think this week will be a big week for us. And I think that Marco is saying we need to sign 3 players. I think we'll sign 3 or 4 by the end of the week. I think we'll get Kevin. I know I said it before.
You
still
did.
think we'll get Kevin at the end of the week.
I will give you full credit if we get Kevin.
No, I don't think that's merited. But I did look at, a couple of benches I think are worth looking at. The health of our squad, if I can quickly. So I took a picture of the Crystal Palace bench today. Jefferson Lerma, Nathaniel Klein, who'd been released a couple of times and has come back from, being clubless. Romain Esse, who Glasner has had a massive falling out with. Odson Edouard, quite good. And then Borna Sosa, who reserve left back. Then Remy Matthews, Caden Rodney, Walter Benitez, Rio Cardines. We've never heard of any of the last of the 4 of those.
Right.
And then West Ham have got Carl Walter-Peters, Mavropanos, Callum Wilson, Guido Rodriguez, Oliver Scarles, Freddie Potts, Andy Irving, Callum Marshall. These are weak benches. And you compare ours, Kearney, Cuenca, Jimenez, Reed, so Harrison Reed, Anthony Robinson, Emile Smith-Rowe, Adama Traore, Harry Wilson. That is a hell of a bench.
Yep.
And we didn't have Issa Diop or Andreas Pereira in the squad today. Our squad is not. It's really not bad. We haven't got European football to contend with. Crystal Palace have got to play every 2 games a week for the next 4 months. West Ham look like a shambles, and it's not as if you can turn to the rest of the squad and say, "Oh, good, we should be wheeling them out." We've lost Carlos Vinicius and Willian. Good. I think we'll move on Pereira. Everyone's frustrated at the lack of signings, but the window isn't shut yet, and Fulham loves a deadline day deal. So I think there's cautious excitement still. It's frustrating. It's frustrating that Marco's frustrated, but I don't think I don't think we should hit panic stations yet, because the performances and the depth of the squad is pretty good there.
Right. And Matt, before I go on, Alex, I'll just echo that. I think you're going to be right. I think Suhail's going to be right. I expect there to be multiple signs. You could be right, maybe up to 4, maybe even more. Who knows? Partially because of what you said. The Cons, or I'll just say Tony likes that deadline week. He loves that. And because they're looking for good deals, and I think deals will come their way. And I think, as I always say, even though I'm frustrated, even though everyone's frustrated, the movie isn't over yet. Yes, Kamal, I used a movie reference. The movie is not over yet. And until the movie's over, then we can judge it. Let's see what happens once the movie's over. And I think we're going to have a good ending. I hope so as well. Anyways, over to you, Alex. I want to get your thoughts on what we're talking about and just what you were talking about before the match.
Yeah, so a lot of really interesting points there. And I'd also add that there's a lot of clubs at the moment that do have a bit of a dodgy feeling around them. Nuno seems to have fallen out with the owner in Forest. Like Matt alludes to, Palace have lost Etse. And, I think there was a stat that they'd won 1 in 16 games without him now in the Premier League. It shows what a big miss he'll be, and they might lose Guehi as well. So I actually think, the 2 performances we've had put us in a really strong position. I know there's still some doubts around Marco and whether that will make some people think twice about signing. But what we've shown is in these 2 performances, because I think away at Brighton is a hard game. We lost that last year. We lost to United at home, I think, last year as well. So these are 2 games we got nothing out of last season. And we've got 2 points, which I think it should have been more. But Chris has said that, nobody should ever show United respect. They are a terrible team. I largely agree with him. They've been absolutely useless for years. unfortunately, I do think there will be a different prospect this year. I think Amorim's got them. He's made intelligent signings. I think Cunha was the best player that came to the Cottage last season of any away performance. And 10 minutes in, I thought he was just going to tear us apart again.
Yep.
And I think it's, at the end of the day, we outplayed Man United for 70 minutes today. And I think we've laid a marker, and we've said to the players we might want to sign that we're going to be competitive again this season. So I actually think we've had a really strong start to the season. It puts us in a really good place going into the late stages of these transfer windows. There are other teams that look in disarray. There are other teams like West Ham, Wolves, 0 points. Straight away, you're going to be going into a toxic atmosphere. The atmosphere at the Cottage today was great. And I think there's a lot of reasons why players would want to come to Fulham right now. And we do have good depth already. And I think we will strengthen. And I think, it's going to be a good season. I'm feeling much more upbeat after the first 2 games.
Okay, Alex. So what do you make of my point of talking about how important the performance was, not just against Brighton Hove Albion, but more importantly against Manchester United, to players that might want to come here? I think that will actually help.
I totally agree. I think players will look at this performance today and think, we've really. You look at what Man United did last week. They were by far the better side against Arsenal, who many are touting for the title. And I think it was something like 23 shots to 7 or something. It was a pretty one-sided game. Arsenal were very lucky that United have got another absolute joking goal. Unfortunately, caught a few things today, which is a bit annoying. But I genuinely think we were the better side, and we've got a really good mix. Josh King, super exciting youngster. I really feel like Sessegnon, Harry Wilson. These are players that are improving very quickly, and I think we're in a stronger position than we were last season. There's no reason we can't have a better season than last year. As Matt says, we've lost a couple of players that aren't huge losses, and I think we will bring in 3 really strong players, and I'm feeling much more upbeat about the season ahead 2 games in.
Okay, excellent. So Hale, I'm going to go to you first before your younger brother. I want to go to the older brother first. So I want to get your thoughts on the talk before the match, but also what we're talking about, and I want to give you kudos because I agree with you that the signings I know are going to come. I feel strongly about that. As you said to me, you're hearing that they have money to spend. I truly believe that. But overall, what do you make of the performance? And as I said, I think that could be a factor in players coming to Fulham.
When you say the word older, my heart sinks and reality sets in for a few moments. But
sorry there.
My thoughts before the game were I was fairly confident. I said this to Kamal because when I was at Brighton last week, the one thing I really noticed was the solidity of the team. Like Brighton are a handy side, and I know they lost today, but they're a handy side at the Amex, and we looked really solid last week. So I thought, you know what? I'm not sure we're gonna win. I predicted a 1-1 draw actually, but I didn't know we were gonna win. I just thought we're not going to be sort of rolled over. I'll admit that might have changed after the first 5 or 10 minutes. I've had revised my thoughts, but we did really. My thoughts before the game is we're in an okay position. And now, as I've said privately to you, Russ, what I've been told is we have the money. We were aiming high, and we basically are a mid-table side with no European football.
Yeah.
So we have to wait for the big boys to do their business. So the targets that we have that may still remain will come to us. And that's an unfortunate reality of not being a top 6 club. But I am very confident that we'll be signing players. And I get the impression they're not going to be bad players. And I think nailed on is Kevin, simply because Matt's told us. Because he's told us that it's nailed on. But I again, overall, I think I agree with both Matt and I agree with Alex. We're in a good position, and today's performance just really underlined all of that.
Okay, excellent. Over to your brother, Kamal. Over to you. I want to get your thoughts on what we're talking about here, and also definitely want to talk to you about, get your thoughts, what you were talking about before the match. I also want to give you kudos to your time on BBC 5 Live. Listen to that. That was great. So good for you on that. What do you make of all this, and what was the talk before the match for you?
Well, first, I want to say, look, if Matt Wall says that we need Kevin, I'll sign the check straight away.
Okay.
In Matt, we trust.
Okay. I agree.
Even though I haven't even seen him kick a ball. But if Matt says that's a man, I'm down with it. Seriously, I think as Matt he tends to do a bit more homework than me and maybe all of us. So before the match, I know Alex is going to he's going to try and rip me here. You can come back on this straight away if you want to me. He said, what was the score? Everyone was saying we were going to get beat. And I was reading all the predictions in the press. They were like, Man United 3, Fulham 0, 3-1 to Man U. And I don't know, because I know that United is, I've got a lot of friends. I got from my friend Hi, I'm in another group, who's a Man United fanatic and had like 7 babies crying last year because every single time, they embarrass themselves, we would have to listen to him cry on our shoulder. But I thought, you can't replace 3 players and create a new team. And as everybody's saying, it's going to take a long time for them to gel together. So I thought we had the same team as we had last year. And also, they put their feet up on their wheelchairs. Their wheelchairs have had a little bit of oiling. And, they're back in form. And I said 2-1 or 1-1. And then what did Alex say to me later? What did he say?
I don't know.
He goes, you always hedge your bets, Kamal. You never come out and say what you think.
I mean, Suhail said 1-1, so he gets the 1-1 high ground and he gets the flowers today, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
No, I said 1-1 too. I said 1-1.
No, you said 2-1 or 1-1. Your brother was unequivocal.
We should have won 2-1.
Okay.
But before the match, it was very, very exciting today because the first day at the Cottage, the ground was just packed. And they told us to get there early because they said it's just going to be very busy. And so the atmosphere was kind of like, because Sky Sports was showing it, they let the fireworks off at the beginning.
Yep.
I think I might have sent you that little video. Did I not? Did I send it to you?
You did.
so yeah, it's party atmosphere. I was very excited.
Okay. Good stuff from all of you getting us going. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go through talking about the first half. I'll go to each one of you with a part of the first half and get your thoughts on it. So Matt, I'll go to you first. The way I want to start is I'm going to give you probably the part that you're probably going to like the least, which is talking about the first 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. So I want to get your thoughts on what you watched. And we've already talked a little bit that the formation change probably was a factor here. The intensity that Manchester United brought was obviously there, and Fulham didn't match the intensity. So what did you see in the opening stages?
So I think there were quite a few players who were just trying to get their head around a system that they didn't play last week and were playing it for the first time proper this week. So, Kenny Tete was playing as a right centre-back in a back 3. He's done that before, but we didn't play that in any of our preseason games. We played 4 at the back, as Suhail says. We look pretty solid when we're 4 at the back. Everyone knows their job. We didn't play 5 at the back, to the best of my knowledge, because there were a couple of them that were behind closed doors in any of our preseason games, and it looked that way. So I thought there were a few players who looked like they were trying to work out exactly what their role was. Candidly, I thought Muniz, who did grow into the game, I thought he started really badly. He looked,
I agree,
kind of weak and kind of half interested, which I was really surprised and quite disappointed by. In that formation, he needs to be absolutely massive, and he wasn't. And the area where you're most worried about confusion is where there are 3 centre-backs rather than 2, because between them they say, well, you've got it, have I got it? And that exact moment happened, and I had a real moment of deja vu when their goalkeeper launched a long ball over the top.
Oh, that was terrible, Matt.
It was exactly the same as Wolverhampton Wanderers beating us 4-1 last year when Cunha took a ball over the top, and that time in one of Gary O'Neill's last games, Cunha hammered it into the roof of the net, and this time, thank goodness, Bernd Leno, who I have to say I thought was a real unsung hero today. I thought he was absolutely
totally agree.
Fabulous. And when you look at teams turning up with, they had £70 million worth of goalkeeper in their squad today to our 6.3. And I've not seen Benjamin Lecomte play. And to be honest, I'll be happy if I never have to. But our goalkeeping department is so much better than theirs, and it's one of our greatest deceptions is that we've managed to keep Bernd Leno. He's never been linked with anybody.
No.
And he would improve that Man United team no end, and he would improve most of the other Premier League teams. He is just such an exceptional quality, and the brothers are right. We should stay quiet. He's very injury prone. So I thought we were just hanging onto the side of the canoe and riding the rapids for the first 10, 15 minutes. We didn't look like we were going to get a foothold in the game. And actually, I think the guys who played us back into it were Bassi, who got stuck in a couple of one-on-one tussles with Mbumo and winning those, which he always does. I mean, Bassi is just a phenomenon. And I thought Lukic and Berger were the leaders in the outfield. I know Leno was our captain. I thought Lukic and Berger grew into the game in a way that it gave us grip. And once we had that grip, Josh King got more time, Muniz had more time, Sessegnon had more space. Anderson, who I thought was excellent today, quietly grew into the game as a controller at the back, and we calmed everything down. But the first 10, 15 minutes was a lot of people not entirely sure of what they were meant to be doing.
Okay, right back to before I go to Alex to talk about the penalty. Well, I'm going to give him the honors on that. I want to get your thoughts about Josh King's opportunity, because they were very critical on the NBC broadcast I had that he should have done better, but he's also 18 years old. Now, what did you make of the opportunity? You were probably a little far away, but you might have seen it. What did you make of it?
So you're right. I haven't actually, that hasn't made the highlights cut. I've seen the 3-minute highlights cut. It didn't make that. The thing, and the Hammersmith end is at the other end of the pitch. So it was a long way away. The thing that it struck me, is that the goalkeeper came out, rushed out, and made quite a good save in the end. But Josh King got there first. And normally when goalkeepers come rushing out at that speed, it's because they think they're going to be quicker than the attacking midfielder going through. And one of the things that, seeing Josh King, I've been there for both of his starts. Southampton, he was pretty good. I thought he was very good against West Ham away last season. I thought he grew into the game. His speed, he is a fast player. And actually, he had really good pace to get and create that chance. I think for most of the rest of our team, because we're pretty one-paced, that would have just been the goalkeeper clearing up a through ball that was a little overhit. That Josh King got the shot away, I thought was a good thing, but it didn't register that much because we were at the other end of the pitch.
Okay, excellent. All right. Alex, over to you. Let's talk about the lead up and what happened with the penalty. So, again, you guys are far away, so I'll look at it, get your view this way. The match continues. And what was the talk when this started to unravel? We'll look at it that way, and then we could talk about the situation that Manchester United deserve a penalty. But what was going through your mind when you started to see the talk that this was being reviewed by VAR?
So there was no indication. I wasn't at all aware of a VAR check until the ball went to play, which seemed to be about 4 minutes later. And
That's right.
When I saw it went up on the screen, penalty, I was thinking, well, I can't remember the last time either of these two teams were in the penalty area. Is that us? Did we have a penalty for some dodgy handball or something? I had to turn around to Matt and say, who's that a penalty for? What's happened? Couldn't even remember the incident. It was that long ago. So it was totally bizarre. I have seen it back, and I think, Mason Mount clearly makes the movement into Bassi, to be honest. He's the one that precipitates the contact. I think it ends up being a bit of a judo throw, but Bassi doesn't actually move the leg that trips him up, So I don't think it was a penalty. I think the ref was a joke today we're
going to talk about him.
And the moment when he didn't wave Bassi back on for ages.
How about that?
It was just like he was trying to wind up the Fulham fans, to be honest. It was so annoying at times. And when you look at the push for their goal on Bassi, that is just as clear, if not more clear, than the thing that was turned over. So absolutely bizarre VARing. Just ridiculous. But obviously, absolutely delighted to see Bruno smash it miles over the bar. I don't think any of us expected that to happen. I can't, like me and Matt were both saying, I can't remember the last time an away team missed a penalty here.
So I think I do remember it. So funny enough, it was my second son's first game today. So he came along as a six-year-old.
Yep.
The last time we saved a penalty that I remember at Fulham was in my eldest son's first game 3 years ago, which was Fulham 5, Leicester 3, and Jamie Vardy missed a penalty in what was a ridiculous goal fest. But it sort of didn't mean that much at the time because we were winning, I think, 5-2 or something. So, but yeah, it was amazing to see a missed penalty. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So good. So good. And just missed by a mile. I mean, it was just beautifully smashed over the bar by
and missed by Bruno Fernandes.
I know, unbelievable.
I mean, the sort of figure of eight.
Guy. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just on the Josh King in chance, by the way. Just
go
quickly,
ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
So at the time, you know, like Matt says, we're the other end. It's hard to say. I did feel like it was a bit of a limp effort at the time, but seeing it back, I think if that moment had come for him in the second half, I think he would have just quick feet around the keeper and rolled it in, because the keeper did commit too quickly. He ended up not really doing anything with the chance. His whatever he was trying to do wasn't even a shot. It was like he was trying to put it across the goal or something. It wasn't much of a contact. It was very soft. And I just think with the pace of feet he's got, he could have just done a little dink, a 1 foot through to the other.
I was thinking the same thing.
And so I just think, you know,
experience, maybe Alex. Maybe that's just a lack of experience.
And he hadn't made the best start to the game. He'd given the ball away 2 or 3 times, and I just think he was a bit overawed, a bit lacking in confidence. But he really did grow into the game. And I think if that chance had come to him later, he would have done what he usually does, which was a beautiful bit of skill around the keeper, and would have been a lovely Josh King goal.
Okay, excellent. All right, time to go to the brothers. I'll go to Kamal first. Kamal, so let's take us to halftime. I want to just get your overall view, what you were thinking about it at halftime. Was 0-0 the right score line at that point?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I mean, we were like, what was it? That's when I think Holly went out and got some biscuits and some Coke Zero for us. We were talking about that. But like generally, the nerves were quite high, and it's really been interesting to listen to what the guys are saying, which is, about the positioning of the players, how some of the players were kind of, how they almost changed formation during the game, which was really exciting to see that. See Marco's brain at work. At half time, I'm very nervous because we realised, the one thing is when people come to the Cottage, Fulham generally contain possession, and we hadn't had possession for the first half, for the first part of the first half. And then they slowly started growing into the game. Yep. But there, we were, the nerves were kind of a bit strung out, as if, we could create and maintain the momentum. And, the second half was, it was just all us.
Yep.
The other side of this is that we know United always seem to come to the Cottage and get lucky breaks. And so there was a general sense of nerves. I think we were all kind of making jokes but laughing nervously because everybody here in this group desperate to see the team win. Yep. The only people having a really good time are Matt's 2 kids, who I've got to say they were coming out with a lot more sense than most of us. They were very direct, honest responses. But so it was. And if I can mention it, I mean the Pepsi Max that Matt and Holly got me was very nice.
Nice.
It was free as well. So.
Okay. Over to Sahel. What were you thinking about after that first half? And you can also bring up, were you thinking, Max and I were talking about this, that changes needed to happen and that we could actually change the game with the bench we had? Was that a thought with you?
Well, I thought Traore was going to be brought on. I thought he was the obvious answer, basically, because that would stretch the United defense. Just a couple of things that have been said in previous things. First of all, the reason Bassi was kept off the pitch is there's been a rule change that someone with a head injury has to go off for 30 seconds. And Kavanagh was counting the 30 seconds basically before he let him back on. So that's the rule change basically that's occurred. Huh. Stupid. But we were down for 10 men for half a minute. That's how silly it was. And on the penalty incident, I've had the benefits of the highlight reel, and I think in an isolated way, the Bassi incident was a penalty. What complicates it, and you'll see it when you see the highlight reel, is
I know where you're going to say it. Luke Shaw, right?
Yeah, Luke immediately Shaw. Behind him, Muniz is fouled at the same time
by Luke Shaw.
Yeah, but that's right. And so that's why I think there should have been no penalty.
That's
because
right.
How can you take that into account? Now, Kavanagh's response will probably be, "Oh, that happened a split second after the Bassi foul." But that's the real problem area here. In terms of subs, I said to Kamal and I said to Holly and Ben sitting in front of me, they should bring on Traore, because I think he's the guy that, you can. There were times when Leno was kicking the ball long, not because of tactical reasons, but because they were closing down on him. So he kicked the ball long, and Traore would have been the perfect target for that with his speed. And he terrifies United because of their experience with him a couple of seasons ago, when he took them apart. But so that was my thought on the subs. Just the thing on the Josh King thing. Again, I've seen the highlights. My observation is, if that chance happens in December, he'll bury it, because people might say, "Wow, that how on earth it was just a dink, etc." But I think Matt and Alex have both referred to the fact that chance wouldn't have happened if he wasn't that quick.
That's right.
And I think all he needs is a bit of experience, and he would have then lobbed the ball over. If you watch it, when you see the highlight reel, you'll see what I mean. It's like this figure that sort of like comes from nowhere. Like it's like a blur, and he gets to the ball and then touches it. And unfortunately, the keepers sort of read it quickly. But that was my take on halftime. Was I'm glad we're at 0-0. We could have been 3-0 down quite easily. We just need to sort of like solidify here, and I would bring on Adama at some point. That was what I was thinking.
Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, back over to Matt. Let's talk about the second half. Okay, so let's go right over and let's talk about the goal from Manchester United. Now, obviously, it's the other part of the pitch, so you probably at the time didn't get a good view. Maybe you've seen it since, Matt, but what was the initial reaction when you saw it? Did you even doubt that there's some controversy that went with it when you saw it? You were a distance away.
No, a header from a corner is almost always something that you're like, well, that felt like it was coming. And I have to say, today of all days, felt like there was going to be a goal from a corner for both teams. So Lukic's deliveries, I thought, were excellent. I mean,
excellent. Great point.
I think we could have scored. I think we could have scored 2 or 3 goals today. We scored a goal from a corner last week. I think we should have scored from Anderson particularly, but Muniz had a header at the far post in the first half.
Yep.
That he decided to do a diving header rather than just a side foot volley. That from the other end of the pitch, it looked like it was easier to just volley it. So no, we couldn't see the push. Having seen it back, the tell is always Gary Neville is on co-coms, right? So Gary Neville is a Man United fan. He doesn't apologise for that. And look, he tries very hard to be dispassionate and neutral. He said in commentary, "I'm surprised that he's got away with that." And when Gary Neville is surprised that a Manchester United player has got away with a clear foul, then it was a clear foul. I'm amazed that was allowed to stand. But and Suhail, it's very rare that you get a podcast where you can get a judge to adjudicate on the quality of a referee. Suhail may well have a view, but one of the things that I enjoyed today was having the referee actually do the announcement on his decision making. Okay. I had no idea that Chris Kavanagh was from the Northwest, but he sounds pretty that he's from the Manchester area.
That's right.
Sounded pretty clear, and he's like, "Hey, it's a penalty to Manchester United." Well,
that's Yorkshire.
Yeah, I know, but I've only got one northern accent. But no, the goal looked fine enough from where we were. I didn't realize it was a known goal. I knew it had taken a deflection. I was just hoping it was off someone who was offside, but it was one of our players.
Okay, very good. All right, over to you, Alex. So Fulham are down 1-0, and we're talking about it now, and obviously we'll talk about Kavanagh in even more detail in just a bit. But I want to now talk about what I think made a huge difference. I think you're going to agree with me. So Marco makes the subs, and I think every sub worked, to be honest with you. The shape change, I could argue that I could make an argument that this one made more of a impact. I could say Raul did, but I could also say Jedi did. Smith Rowe scores the goal. They all made an impact, but through your eyes, how much of a difference were these substitutions?
They're massive. And you know, like Sahel says, there was a chat at halftime. Oh, do we make some changes? Traore did seem like a pretty good option to just try and tear into United. And as usual, Marco just knows best and picked all the right changes, shifted the shape in the right way. I thought Harry Wilson was also really good today. Really, some clever little balls, really confident, looked really, really dangerous as well. So they all played a part. Like you said, Smith Rowe looked up for it when he came on. He's suddenly starting to realize he's really going to have to fight for a place in the team and gets the all-important goal. Matt pointed out to me that last season we were actually top of the goal-scoring charts for substitutes. So far this season, we've got 100% of our goals from substitutes. I'm starting to think 5 minutes into the game, we should make 5 subs and we'd score a hatful. So we should just bring on all the subs straight away. I think that's should be the new tactic. But the subs were great today. But again, that speaks to the depth of the squad, the togetherness of the squad. Nobody's sulking or whinging because they're not on. My only worry is Muniz seems to only really properly be impactful if he comes off the bench. I don't know.
That's a good point.
He's not trying to hold down his place in the team. He seems to want to be the super sub. You know, he just looks like a different animal when he comes off the bench. And I thought he was one of the few players that was off it. And I thought the goal, that he's got to take you don't kind of duck and half turn your back like he did on the United goal. So I think he really has to take some responsibility with that as well. So fair play to all 4 who came on at that time. That they did great and helped turn around the game. But I do think we were the better side throughout the second half, even before the subs. Although they definitely helped. So great job, Marco. Great job, Sols. Well done.
Well, let me put it to you this way: do you think Fulham were more likely to win the match after they scored the goal? We'll talk about the goal coming up next.
After we equalised, definitely. I mean, I think probably we all felt there was probably another goal in the game. We could just because it's happened the last few seasons where United have snuck a last minute winner. You're always kind of terrified that's coming again. Corners were a real thing today. It was kind of weird because every time they had a corner, they seemed to get a free header. They're a much bigger side than we are, and it's hard to do anything about that. They're just bigger. But then if that's the case, how come we had a free header every time we were in their area? So it was a big thing with corners, but we did look vulnerable, and we did have plenty of chances, as Matt pointed out, from corners ourselves. So neither team seemed to be able to defend corners today.
Okay. Cool. Before I go over to Kamal to talk about the goal, actually, I want to go back to you, Matt. I want to talk a little bit because it's the lead up to the goal, the delivery from Iwobi. Now, I've been critical of Iwobi last season. His second half of the season, he looked like he ran out of gas. I thought, played very well, but when the change of formation, I think, helped him a great deal. What did you make of Iwobi's performance just overall?
It's amazing how subjective football is, because I was watching Iwobi and he was huffing and puffing, but I thought his touch was not good, his distribution was not good. I thought he had a really bad game, and then in the as Kamal says, we went out to the riverside to get a drink afterwards, and the boys got jumped up on sugar, and there was a TV there that said that Iwobi had been given man of the match, which I find extraordinary. But the beautiful thing about art is that everyone has a different view, right? So that can apply here.
Okay.
Look, the cross for the goal. I think there are 2 really fantastic things about that goal. So one is Iwobi's cross is a very subtle. It's not whipped. It's very deliberate, and it's to one of 2 players. So the cross is a really good one. I think Smith Rowe gets a lot of credit for making a run that means that he's there to tap it in from 2 yards out. The final thing on that, their goalkeeper, to whatever the opposite of authority is, he has it when it comes to bossing his box. He was a complete. He was like a vacuum of power in his own box. So a cross that went near him, that we're tapping in the ball 2 yards out is symptomatic of a player who is far beyond his station and cost 3 times what our goalkeeper cost.
So, if you guys want to enjoy something, go watch Mark Goldbridge talk about this goal from Smith Rowe.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He is livid with actually Bruno. He was going. I watched his show afterwards because I was curious what he thought, and he blamed Bruno. It's like, I know it's a midfielder's responsibility for Smith Rowe, and it's Bruno, and he was screaming. That actually gave me joy. I'll just mention that. Okay, Kamal, over to you. Let's talk about the goal. I want to get your thoughts on the goal. Kamal.
I remember when the goal went in, we weren't quite sure. It was so fast, and Rodrigo was looking very slow and looking a bit heavy. And when Raul came on, to be honest, he looked very grown up, very professional, very serious. One thing I want to point out is that on the side of the pitch, when the Fulham players, they trained in front of us. And when we lost the goal, they just all stood there with their hands on their hips, looking absolutely desolate and looking not very happy. And when the United goal went in, they just continued training. And that was kind of saying something to me about their psychology, is that the Fulham players feel like a complete unit and team. They feel for each other if they lose something. Yet United, I know a lot of mates like me, maybe they're a bunch of paid mercenaries who just want to make sure they get the cash in. So it kind of embellished that idea about how the spirit within the team is good, that they all feel the success and the failure for each other. And at the end of just so you know, at the end of the match, they all took a walk around and communicated with the fans, which is lovely. The goal, I couldn't see who actually scored. I thought, as I'm constantly talking to Alex, my eyes seem to be failing a bit. And I thought it was Raul. And then, when we saw the slow motion up on, because I like it, whenever Fulham score a goal, they show it on the big screens. They kind of show it in extra slow motion so we can really enjoy it. And you realise that, the nudging was from Smith Rowe. And it was he was one of the players actually on the side who looked very upset when we conceded a goal. And there were fireworks in the Hammersmith, and we literally took off.
That's great.
We were going mad. I think even Mr. Wall and Mr. Thomas and my brother behind me and the judge they lost all dignity.
Wow.
and the kids, and they really celebrated.
No, that's great.
It was special.
Yeah. That's great. Okay.
It was the least we deserved.
Absolutely.
We were playing against.
Right. I'm going to make the argument that Fulham should have won this match, but again, maybe that's me with rose-colored glasses. I just thought they were the better side. Even Alex, you said for 70-plus minutes, Fulham were the better side. Yeah. So if I'm just going on performance, I thought they deserved to win it. It didn't turn out that way. That's why I think talking about the performance sometimes in regards to trying to weigh it next to the result's still a good result. It's a point. It's still decent, but I think should have been more. But that's where you go on that. All right. So
can I just say something else about the reporting? I was reading The Guardian while the match goes on. I always read The Guardian.
Okay.
And when the goal went in, it says, "I know I'm going to die for this." And I read The Sun as well. Sure, but I'm a bit more.
Okay.
Anyway, so when the goal went in, The Guardian wrote that Fulham have done it. They seem to have snatched. They snatched the match from the jaws of defeat. I mean, they were all over United at this point. And it reflects about how the media, as you say, when they talk about everybody talking about the match, I'm pretty sure they were talking about how badly United play.
That's right.
We weren't talking about Fulham. And then the Guardian is so disappointed. I'm actually email them and saying, we did not snatch the match from the jaws of defeat. We were all over them, and the stats verify that.
The stats absolutely do. I'm glad that you brought that up, Kamal. Good point for bringing that up. Like I said, I don't like being this person that's destroying the media. I do that here in Massachusetts with the Patriots stuff. But in this case, they're all about United, and I think it becomes a factor in watching the match, and it doesn't need to be. There are two teams out there, and it was very one-sided commentary I was dealing with. Anyways, over to you, Suhail. You're the judge. I want to get your thoughts. Actually, we're going to go around to everyone, and then we'll get man of the match to end it. Let's talk about Chris Kavanagh. I'm going to start with you. Before I get your commentary, I want to just mention this. And the beginning stages of the match, he was letting everything go. There were, I thought, several opportunities for fouls against Fulham players, and he just let them play. So that irritated me. But overall, I thought he was poor. And I don't generally like talking about the ref that much because I think sometimes it could be an excuse. But I think he was a factor here. Sahel, your thoughts?
No, I agree with you entirely. I think he was poor. I think Gary D says Kavanagh's from Manchester. I've read somewhere that his dad was a Manchester United season ticket holder.
Oh, great!
So it puzzles me, why we seem to get him when we play Manchester United. But no, there were a lot of rough tackles from United. They went unpunished. Poor old Josh King, again, for the second week running, basically was getting sort of kicked all over the place. Nothing happened. And then as soon as and I think I've said this to, I don't know if it was to you, Alex, I sort of said, as soon as we touch someone's bootlace, it's a free kick against us. Very, very frustrating performance, and it doesn't help. Now, look, maybe every ref's going to be like that when it's a big, you have a big time. But what I would say is the penalty decisions, they say a lot, because if you were going to give that penalty to United, you should have disallowed that goal.
That's right.
And, it's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And yet not even, there wasn't even a sort of VAR check or any sort of consultation. It was just straightforward. It's a goal. So a very poor referee. But again, it's something that you talk about performance, Russ. That's, again, something when you stack in the result and the performance, the fact that we had a very poor referee, gives me even more hope for the games to come.
That's actually a good positive spin. Matt, I'm going to go to you. I actually said this to someone after the match. When you have a referee like this, it reminds me of like a prize fight where you're going against the champion. You have to knock him out because you don't want it to go to a decision. That's what this feels like when you're dealing with someone like this. Now, am I overreacting? Because I think, again, that he was a factor here.
No, I think that's exactly right. And, Kamal talks about the media coverage as one that is completely United biased. Part of that I sympathize with. The reality is, we're partisan, right? We're Fulham fans. If you're not a Fulham fan, you're watching what's going on at Fulham. The reality is nothing's going on at Fulham. We signed a 34-year-old reserve goalkeeper for free, or for 400,000, depending on who you talk to. And we let Willian and Carlos Vinicius leave. Like, we are the opposite of eventful and newsworthy and interesting for people who aren't interested in us. And I think your prize fighter analogy is spot on. And look, Kavanagh, I thought, was bad for exactly the reason that Suhail says, which is the inconsistency. You can't award one penalty and then allow that goal with similar amounts of contact. I think, it's a push on Bassi, and so that should have been reviewed. There was a really strong two-footed tackle by one of their players on Berger, I think, in the second half. I was amazed that was he just way play on with that. That from the stand, that looked like a two-footed challenge and at least a yellow card, and it was just way play on. But it wasn't reviewed, so maybe more fool me. The one thing I would say is that for all of Chris Kavanagh's apparent bias, he is the one who interrupted Bruno Fernandes's set up for the penalty.
This is true.
That meant that Bruno Fernandes had to reset it and then sky it over the bar. So in many ways he leveled things up himself in his own strange way.
And do you know that Fernandez has said or blamed the miss on the fact not that he bumped into him, but that he didn't say sorry.
Well, it's very sad, wasn't it?
It is.
I mean,
how many chants are coming out of that particular statement?
I know. But yeah, so Kavanagh sort of leveled things up in the end by interrupting Bruno and then not apologizing critically to really hammer it home.
Okay, very good. Over to you, Alex. Thoughts on Kavanagh?
Yeah, I do think he was a problem today. I think he wanted to make it about him. It felt like that. The only thing you can say in his defense are that the two big decisions we're talking about here are both VAR really things. He was called to the screens. He didn't award the penalty himself. We didn't see anything amiss, and he was called to the screens, and I think completely wrongly. It clearly wasn't an obvious error, especially as there was a pile-up and other fouls going on. There's also a hand that drags Bassi to the floor in there somewhere. So there's a bunch of other fouls going on that penalty. So that was whoever his VAR assistant was guilty of that one. And likewise with the goal, you can miss that push because it happens a good second before, well, not second before, but a bit before the ball arrives for Yoro. But again, it's the VAR's fault in that instance. If he's called the first one, he has to call that second one. So I thought he didn't handle the game well. He missed things. He seemed to be trying to wind up the Fulham fans and basking in being called the C word all day long. He seemed to enjoy that too much. That's the one. But I would say, his VAR assistant was at least as much to blame as he was for the big moments.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, good. Kamal, over to you. Thoughts on Kavanagh?
I really think that you heard what I said on 5 Live earlier.
I did.
It is so provocative for the FA to appoint a guy who sent off Willian, Mitrovic, and Silva. And then, we all know about the Mitro push. 3 matches turned to 8.
Kamal, I heard what they said to you. What do you expect them to do? Not have them?
Do you know the referees work on a Sunday? That's laughable. We need to communicate with the FA that you want to prevent a riot, because he is the kind of person that could. It's an incendiary appointment. Blood could have been spilt. Bruno Fernandes got the most enthralling chants from the fans, but the Hammy were giving almost death threats, and it's not good for him, but it's certainly not good for the game. And don't appoint. The real problem here, I'm sorry to say this, the problem is the FA for putting him in. Why would you put somebody who's all our I think Chris and Gary was saying that on your comments, he's from Manchester. Matt pointed out he's got a good ear for accents, so his northern accent kind of ran through there. So
I heard northern.
Right.
Look, if I'm refereeing Fulham in the FA Cup, what am I going to do? The problem is the FA here.
No, it is, and guys, I know I'm going to cross sports here, but there was a referee in the NFL when I was a kid by the name of Ben Dreith, and he did not ref another Patriots game in his career because he got a call very wrong that actually got the Raiders and that led them to go into the Super Bowl over my team, the Patriots. It actually did. They did that. They refused to let him referee another Patriots game. So it does happen. And there are reasons for it, especially if someone gets something wrong, then to have cast doubt on someone's credibility. We're talking about Kavanagh. We're doubting his credibility because of what happened a couple of years ago. And now he's, like you said, is he from Manchester, and all this other stuff. Don't have him anywhere near a Fulham match. Come on, you can do that. That's my point on that. I'm sorry. I get really passionate when it comes to stuff like that. All right, guys, let's finish.
You're getting passionate because you're a Patriots fan.
Well, I am too. Anyways, let's end the show with man of the match. Let's go around first to Mr. Wall. Who's your man of the match?
It was really tight. It was a really good team performance. I think notable mention for Leno, who I just thought was quietly brilliant in his own way. And I thought Lukic was excellent and really should have been, someone who got an assist or 2 today. But overall, I'm going to give it to Bassi, who I thought was the person that gave us grit and grip in the first half, and a lot of control in the second half. To Suhail's point that they brought on a £75 million striker that we then didn't see. I thought Anderson was very good, but Bassi was the muscle and the go forward. And so I would have just about given it to Bassi, but it was a team full of 7 and 8s today.
Okay. All right. Alex?
I agree. Certainly with the point that Bassi, Anderson were great. Some other really good performances as well, but I am going for Lukic. I thought even his yellow card, I'm not usually a fan of those kind of, sneaky little pullbacks, but it was a really important one at that moment.
Sure.
So I think his deliveries were great from corners. I thought he was very good on the ball today, and stood up really strongly to Man United. And I thought he was just about the key man, just above Bassi and Anderson. So, I'm going Lukic.
Okay. Kamal, who are you going with?
So I'm going to get accused of being dishwater now and wishy-washy again by Alex. You can never make your mind up. For me, the man of the match was the team.
Oh, no.
Come on, get off the fence. Come on, get off the fence. Come on, Kamal. No. I'm not letting you get away with this. Come on, Kamal.
Three players there. The three sides.
No. Come on.
Cut the feed to him. Go to Sahel.
Okay.
Okay, fine. I'm fine. I'm going to the older brother.
Do a take two for him, in a few moments.
Okay, I'll go back to him. You sit. I'll go back. Suhail.
Yeah, I was going to say Bassi, but because I think he really nullified. I said to you, Alex, he nullified Mbuemo throughout the game. He just completely. But everyone's picked Bassi and Anderson. I'm going to put a special mention in for Kenny Tete, who basically. Yeah, totally under. He was under the radar today, but my goodness, every time he went one-on-one with their players, he won, and he was. I thought it. As I say, I'd have given it to Bassi but just because everyone else has nominated him and Anderson, I would say Kenny Tete. I said to Kamal. I said that was a bloody good signing. Getting him back is like one of the best things. You say what you like about the management, etc., Ali Mack, etc., but getting him to re-sign, I think is going to be a very, very important part of our season. So I'll give it to him.
Okay, and I'm glad. I think it was Matt that mentioned Bernd Leno. They don't get anything from this without Bernd Leno. So I'm glad that we're mentioning him as well. All right, Kamal, second chance.
So I'm forced to ask.
Yes.
I will talk about a couple of unsung heroes.
Now we're going to unsung heroes. So you can't give me a man of the match?
Just one player. Come on, you get one player.
You can tell he's a Guardian reader.
It's between
Guardian reader. That's what
it's between because Josh King grew in that match. He literally.
Okay, he's still giving me unsung heroes. Okay, go ahead.
And so it's definitely not Iwobi. I don't know what Sky Sports were doing. And it's going to be, I would say, what I was really I know it's not. I'm sorry, I'm not going to. I do agree with most of what's being said over here, but for me, I really like the way that Josh King came onto the pitch as a boy again and left as the fastest, most creative player I thought on the pitch. I thought it was wonderful.
I don't know if that's an answer. Russ, who are you going to for your man of the match?
Okay. My man of the match is going to be Kenny Tete. I'm going with Kenny Tete. Okay, because I thought that he was a difference in this match, so I'm going with Kenny Tete.
So Russ,
I like Kenny Tete as well.
Everyone likes Kenny Tete. So a quick question, and I want us to make signings, but going through the strength of our bench, if we're going to sign 3 players that get into our match day squad, who are the 3 players you want to drop out of our match day squad?
Wow, you are really you're
on the bench. You've got Kearney, Cuenca, Jimenez, Lecomte, whose place is not under threat. Okay. Harrison Reed, who I think is probably one of them.
Yep.
Anthony Robinson, Emile Smith-Rowe, Adama Traore, Harry Wilson. Tell me where there's space for 3 people to just walk into this match day squad, because we all want signings. Everyone's signing people,
right?
I don't know that we have I think we will sign 3 players, but I think a third striker isn't getting in the match day squad. We don't need another centre back because Diop didn't even make the squad today, and he's still a very strong Fulham player. Tell me the 3 players that you would take out of our match day squad to replace with new signings.
Oh wow, you are putting me on
the fence. Russ, don't sit on the fence.
Wow, well, no, I'm not going to. Okay, so if I have to make a decision here, 1 would be Harrison Reed.
Yep.
2 would have to be I can't do that because
it's Kearney.
Well, no, it would probably have to be Kearney, but now I'm thinking at center back, I can't not have Cuenca because you need some backup. So that's 2. So I'm kind of stuck on the 3rd because it's a good point. Like who else do I take out?
And it makes you think, okay, it's all great that we're going to be in the market, but I don't think our house isn't on fire here. We're not desperate to go and sign someone. And it's why I don't approve of this policy. I think Gary and Chris, who were commenting earlier, absolutely right. We knew our targets. I think one of them was clearly Keenan Dewsbury Hall, but for nearly £30 million for someone who wasn't going to get in the starting lineup, I'm okay to say, enjoy your time at Everton. We'll keep our powder dry because I think we definitely need a rotation for Iwobi. I don't think we have that in our squad, and that's
I agree.
Kevin or Reece Nelson. But we're not, we've got two really good right wingers in Adama Traore and Harrison Wilson on the bench today. I think probably if we're playing 4-3-3, you could say one of them would have started, Wilson probably. And you're looking for someone maybe to take over from Wilson as the starting winger. But I like Harry Wilson. I wanted to start. So we're not desperate. If we get to the end of the window and we've only signed 2 players, as long as they're getting straight in the team and adding, I'm okay with that. But I think we will end up signing 3 to please Marco.
Okay. So the one position that I actually want them to consider, Matt, and then we definitely will wrap up the show, is that I think that they need a number 8. I think they need a number 8. Because I know how well Lukic played today. I know how this combination of Berg and Lukic, I want them to use not all the time. I want them to use it against the Manchester United, against the Liverpool. But against the Leeds United, I don't want them playing together. I want some that's going to be more expansive, a more box-to-box, someone that's going to offer more going forward. Nothing against Lukic, but I don't know if he offers enough.
Yep. I think that's right, and if Pereira goes, especially, then that frees up the salary and the to bring it. I agree.
Can I do a Matt Wall and just pose a question? I mean, there's rumors floating around about Mitrovic inquiring to come back. Would you take it with? Who would take him back and who wouldn't? Is the question?
Let's go around the room, and that's how we'll end the show. Alex, would you take Mitro back?
Yeah, go on. I'm a man for nostalgia. Let's bring Mitro back.
Okay.
Don't think it'll happen.
Matt, would you bring Mitro back?
Only if we sold Raul Jimenez.
Okay.
You can't have 3 people going for one position in a World Cup year needing game time.
No, I agree. Kamal?
My 2 players of the decade, or the last few years, Palhinha and Mitro. And if either of them ever came back, we should roll out the red carpet. But he won't divide the team, because he's in the Tom Kearney documentary, divided back, and they're making lots of jokes. So the team still has a good, but I'm a bit worried about the fans. But we love him, and look at the number of goals he scored. Even at he scored more goals at Al Hilal than Ronaldo did in that league.
Yep.
So
Okay. I guess that leads me, Suhail. Hell no. I don't want him back.
What? You changed. He didn't say that a week ago.
I don't want him back. I've changed my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind. I don't want him back.
At least I don't want him in the fence.
Good for you,
I'm
Russ.
the casting vote then, aren't I? And I would take him back in a heartbeat. I'd take him back in a heartbeat, simply because we don't have a striker there in the mold of, say, a striker that strikes fear, into the hearts of opposing defenders.
That's all true, but I don't want this guy back. That's all true. He can go screw. I'm sorry. I don't want him back.
Oh, man.
Does that surprise you, Kamal? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, because I think we spoke a few days ago and you said yes. And so,
well, no,
I want to know why.
Why?
Goals are more important.
Why?
You want to know why? You want to know why? One of the reasons is what Matt said, that, again, he is such a figure that would take over that room of 3 strikers. It'll ultimately, it's all about him. I know everyone says he's a good teammate. I don't like selfish people like that. I don't want him back. I've rethought it. No, I don't want him back. That's my reason. I'm sticking with it.
Okay. This could be a nightmare season for us if Mitro comes back and they don't sell Pereira. I don't know what.
If they don't sell Pereira, I think I'm gonna. Yes.
I think it looks very much as though Pereira is going.
Yeah. Okay.
He goes with my thanks. I think he's been a good soldier for us.
Right.
If we sign Mitro, I will ring you within 60 seconds. Trust me.
Fine, then go ahead and ring me. Next time, make a decision, Kamal. Next time, make a decision. All right. Listen, let's wrap this up. I want to say goodbye to everyone. First, Matt, thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Thanks, Russ.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Very much.
Okay. Alex, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining.
Cheers, Russ. All the best.
Okay. Suhail, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah. Loved it. Great stuff.
Okay, Kamal, make a goddamn decision next time.
I'm on the fence about it.
Okay. Anyways, great show. And we will be back for the next home game with the guys. And it's always fun doing a show, but it is time to wrap it up. For the Hammersmith end, guys, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.